Bless up guys, Yannick Reed here and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Yannick Reed and on this channel I like to talk about tech, creativity and lifestyle, focusing on photography and videography. So if that interests you, you should just hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one. The release of the iPhone 13 is just around the corner, very soon depending on when you're watching this. So I have been using the iPhone 11 Pro as my daily driver for just a couple days short of 2 years now, and I thought I would just do an update on how I feel about this phone 2 years later, right before the iPhone 13 comes out. I am going to read from my phone just so I don't forget anything. Please bear with me. I just want to communicate clearly and quickly. So we're gonna dive right into it. So first I want to talk about the battery life on this phone. It's kind of important since this phone is 2 years old. I want to see how it held up. Let me be honest, I don't worry about my iPhone's battery on day-to-day usage, and I think that's the best thing I can say about it. If it's a day where I'm at work and I'm not on my phone after a nightly charge, it lasts all day and I barely pay attention to it, I reach home with like 70% battery, and you know, I think that's very good. If I'm at home though and I'm on YouTube and just spending a day on my phone, I will probably have to top it up at least once from the morning, like probably somewhere, I'd say maybe like around somewhere between like 3 and 5. So I am still very happy with the battery life. If I'm being honest, I have no complaints. I think the battery life is adequate. It makes me happy. I don't worry about it. I leave my house and I don't walk with like a charger all the time. It's great. Let's talk about the speed, aka performance. True word. This phone is as fast as the day I bought it. Like, it's just as fast. Nothing loads slow. The slowest thing on this phone is the data speed, honestly, which has nothing to do with the phone itself. Even when the battery is in the red, it may slow down just like a little bit. Just a fraction enough for me to notice, but definitely not enough for me to even outpace it. Which is pretty awesome because as Android phones aged, you could really feel them slow down and get slower. Like my last phone would always like get warm and hot in my hand, which it felt pretty ratchet if I'm being honest. Design. So iPhone 11, you know what it looks like. It's in my hand. This is the phone. I don't love the design. I really wanted the green iPhone. They didn't have it. They only had the champagne one. I don't like the color. It's okay, but I don't really care about a phone's design as long as it's not like ugly. You know, it's still an iPhone. I love the size though. I'm very into it. As you can see, I have huge hands. I don't have a size reference. This is a regular iPhone and I have big hands. So maybe, like, I imagine this is how people with regular size hands feel about the iPhone 12 Pro Mini. I can reach everything on the phone. It don't feel like I have a tablet in my pocket. It's just very easy to handle. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't weigh on my hand. I like that. Design, meh, it's not exciting for Apple, that is. The build quality is like a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, but the design is kind of boring for me at this point. I do love the shampooed edges on the iPhone 12, but at the end of the day, it's an iPhone. We used to iPhones look good, but this is kind of boring. I want some kind of new vibes now. Let's talk about the display. No complaints here either. The screen is nice and bright. This phone has a notched display. The notch is not something that bothers me. I don't see it. I don't remember it's there. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. The resolution is nice and crisp. The colors on screen to me are nice and vibrant, and the blacks are nice and inky, which I love. Every reviewer complains about 120 Hz displays, and while I do believe that the iPhone 13 should have a 120 Hz display because that's pretty much the standard now, my eyes are pretty much unbothered. I have an iPad Pro with ProMotion, and honestly, moving between the two devices, I never really noticed a difference. Like, I can see the difference of it being more smoother, but I've never been like, oh god, this would be so much better with 120 Hz. Meh. But the display is good. It's good. I like it. Cameras. Alright. We could get comfortable here because this is a channel where we talk about photography and cinematography. So we're gonna take our time to talk about the cameras right now. I have taken great photos with this camera, and I like the camera and the photos I've taken with it. But maybe I would say the features, I'm craving for some more improvement or innovation in that area. What I like, the HDR in the standard camera is chef's kiss. It's lovely. I would love to see this feature in my big cameras. That means, you know, if you have a scene that has really bright brights like the sun hot and maybe like really dark darks like a shadow, the computational photography that's being performed by the iPhone is very good. It has very good dynamic range to me, and it's very intelligent. So, you know, like a sunset pic with an iPhone is always really good because just very good. Yeah, the ultra wide and the telephoto though, they could use some HDR. They don't capture as much dynamic range as the other cameras, and I'm hoping HDR comes to the other two cameras in the iPhone 13. So just that same level of performance that we get in the standard camera, I'm gonna wanna see them in these two cameras in the next iPhone. The color rendition. Across the board, iPhones nail color very well. It's a nice and neutral color, but not too muted, which for me I like because it gives me room to edit my iPhone pictures to my liking, which I enjoy. There's adequate amount of color data for me to push in the direction that I want to go. So the pictures already look good coming out of the camera. As a photographer, I like to edit my pictures. So, you know, like when I bring them into apps like Visco, they don't immediately fall apart when I start to maybe push the colors in different directions. So I really like that. Taking photos is always quick and always easy. I like that it's easy to use this phone to take photos. The extra features now. It's hard to say, right? I'm a photographer, so sometimes I can be a bit of a camera snob in the way that, you know, once I start putting out a certain amount of effort, I'm like, why don't I just use a camera? For example, right? I never use portrait mode because I just forget that it's there. Like, honestly, like going about my day-to-day business, I forget that portrait mode is just a feature on my phone, and I just really like never use it. But when I do use it, it does look good. It does look good. I'll give it that. The ultra wide camera, it's limited in the sense that to me it's only good for daylight outdoors. Any other lighting condition, the image is just, it's kind of trash if we're just being honest. So if you're not outside with the sun hot and there's just ample light, like the ultra wide camera is just, the image them just muddy. I'd love to see a lower aperture on the iPhone 13 to make it more useful indoors. That would be extremely exciting. Night mode. Again, I rarely use it. I thought I would, but I rarely use it. I'm not much of a photographer once the sun sets. Just writing this review makes me realize that like once the sun sets, I don't really draw for cameras. It's okay. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It's much more usable than like a normal phone without night mode, but the images They look kind of grainy. I wouldn't even recommend editing them much just because they're gonna fall apart much quicker than just regular photos. I would love to see night mode brought over to the telephoto and ultra wide cameras though. Would love that. I would love to be able to use the ultra wide camera and get like a really good landscape photo at night. You know, you're somewhere where it's looking pretty good outdoors at night. Night mode, ultra wide camera, really steady. Get a usable photo. That would be really wicked. But overall, I'd say I'm happy with the cameras. I would just like a little bit more excitement. I'm spoiled. Truth. Under cameras, we're going to talk about, like we talked about, like for photo, but now we're going to talk about video. Ironically, video is like a whole nother ball game in a good way. I absolutely love the videos I get from this thing. God no. The HDR again from the standard camera for me is beautiful in video. In that aspect, iPhones for me are still leading the mobile video pack because, as you know, I've shot vlogs with my phones on YouTube multiple times. You can look on my channel and see videos shot with. And truth be told, it's not perfect. It's not this quality, but I like it. It's like enough that I'm like, yo, you know, it was nice to be able to capture this situation with relative ease and it looks good. Just like for photo, I would love to see the HDR intelligent features come to the other cameras. You know, when you're shooting video, sometimes you see it kind of do some work on the sky. I would love to see that computational video processing come to the ultra wide and the telephoto. I never use the telephoto camera for video, but I use the ultra wide a lot. It's great for vlogging and establishing shots, and it just looks really cool when you just... The distortion actually looks really sick to me on video. The front facing camera I'd say is actually pretty decent. It's a big and noticeable improvement from the iPhone 10, which was the phone I had before this one. And I'm pretty acquainted with it since this is what I use pretty much for my Instagram stories. And I feel pretty happy with how it renders, how things look, and my face. So I'm happy with that. I do hope the iOS team is working on some portrait mode video for the iPhone 13, meaning that, you know, with computational videography, that, you know, maybe you can blur some backgrounds in videos. That's, I know it's asking for a lot, but if there's any company I feel like can do it and it looks good, I would ask Apple. So we are here at my final thoughts. My experience with the iPhone 11 Pro has honestly been the best experience I've had with a phone. No cap. Also, my favorite. 2 years in and I feel like I could use this phone for 2 more years if I really wanted to. Honestly, it's nice to use a device that gets updated quickly and often. The phone ages well in software, and it also has great hardware support. And my favorite feature, as I've said before in many other videos and iterations, the quality of iPhone apps is just different level. The work that people put into the apps that they make for iPhones is just not the same as they put it in for Android, and the result is just some really quality dope apps. I love the app experience. That's my #1 favorite thing about just the iOS platform. So I'm gonna just do some frequently asked questions and we're just gonna close this one out. Why didn't you get the iPhone 12? I wanted to buy it directly from Apple in an Apple store, but I couldn't because lockdown was going crazy at the time and I couldn't fly out. That's really the reason why. That's it. What about the features you missed from the iPhone 12? I was most excited for Apple Pro RAW and the HDR Pro video, but to be honest, it doesn't look like they are used heavily by most Pro smartphone users that I know. So I've been fine, you know, it just looks like it came and people were like, oh my god, and then they didn't actually end up using it. So I don't feel like I really missed much. MagSafe looks dope. I'm looking forward to having it as a feature whenever I get a new iPhone. Do I regret getting the iPhone 11 Pro? No, not at all. What don't you like about the iPhone 11 Pro, since it would seem that I'm praising it a lot? It is very easy to block the speakers and the microphones with debris like lint and sand. It has happened to me twice and I've had to clean them out. That is annoying. I absolutely hate the fact that the App Store is region locked. I hate that. If you are in one country, you can't get apps from other countries, and it's stupid. It's stupid. I hate it. Dragging and dropping files can still take some improvements. You know, like I would just like to hook this up to my laptop, drag a text file to my phone, and just forget about it. Low light video, while it's the best on any phone that I've ever used, it is still kind of meh. It could use some work. Do I miss Android? Sometimes, but not as my main device. Would I still recommend the iPhone 11 Pro? 100% yes, especially since it's cheaper now and will be cheaper after the iPhone 13 drops. Will you get the iPhone 13? Provided that the new features are actually exciting and cool. Yes, I would. That's it for my quick review and recap of the iPhone 11 Pro after 2 years. Do you have any thoughts? What's your experience with your current phone been like? Drop them down into the comments. The iPhone 13 is going to be announced very soon and I'm looking forward to that device and discussing it with you guys. Stay safe and continue to bless up yourself.